See, most people think success is a straight line. I'm going to get out of high school, I'm going to get a job, and everything's going to be fine. That's not how it plays out, folks, okay? This is how it plays out. Guy decides he wants something, and the line gets all squiggly. See, right now, a guy decides over the summer, hey man, I'm going to get this job this summer, and I'm going to make some money this summer. And then he gets distracted by the first squiggly. I don't know what he's doing. He's squiggling off because he's not focused on his success. He squiggles. You ever use this term, squiggle? Yeah, man, I'm doing a squiggle. You know, I'm gonna go out and hang out with the guys this weekend. It's a squiggle. It's off path, off purpose, off potential. And so he ends up in a bunch of loops over here. Most people get stuck in loops. I did it. When I got out of high school, I was in a lot of trouble. Didn't have any focus. Wasn't fulfilling my potential. Was distracted. Didn't have a coach. Didn't have an older brother. Didn't have a father. Lost. What am I doing? Okay, don't know where I'm going. I know I got this potential. It's sitting there inside of me. It's a little candle burning. I know it's there. I hadn't quite put it out when I was 20 years old. But it was low. Any of you ever been there? What am I doing every day, man? Why am I getting up every day? Why am I going to school? I didn't even know why I was going to school. I was just going to school. I was just doing school. I didn't even want to go to school. See, I'm squiggling around, okay? If you persist and stay focused and surround yourself with other people that persist and stay focused, who knows, maybe you'll come out the other.
Do you think that you're stepping away from race car driving when you deciding just like enough is enough? Do you think that in some ways that this is you appreciating other aspects of life too?
I don't know, there's a lot of negativity to some degree, a lot of grind. It just kind of feels like the grind a little bit. So I just kind of felt like it wasn't a space that I wanted to be in as much anymore. Like I want to be in a happy space where I'm just doing things that bring me joy. And it wasn't doing that as much, or I was noticing it. I was noticing I was missing that or wanting it more. I think that's really what it comes from, is growing as a person and realizing, I think everybody's afraid to take chances and do something new in their life because they're identified a certain way, or they'll be judged if they don't do it, or judged if they do something different. And who are they now? And are they crazy? And what are they thinking? And, you know, it's just life. Just do things that make you happy.
You have never seemed shackled, Matt, over your career by the fear of needing to maintain some sort of particular image. You've always been happy to speak out on issues that you are concerned about, or to do whatever projects take your fancy. How have you managed to slip those chains?
I just never thought that you could micromanage an image, you know. I just didn't, you know, and the things I've spoken about, I've just, you know, are things that I believe, and it doesn't mean that I'm right. It just, you know, and I'm happy to learn and evolve in my thinking. But if I'm saying something, it's because it's what I'm genuinely feeling, and you know, and that's I don't think I've taken too many hits.
While judging, which factors led you to your decisions?
It's about your passion. Like, it's one thing to get up there and dance well. I wasn't looking for the person that was dancing well, because it's a world of dance. Everybody's going to dance well. Everybody on that stage is amazing. So what I was looking for was whatever that step above amazing is. And I feel like that comes from me being able to see the passion of what you're doing. If the piece is sad, I'm supposed to be sad after I watch you do it. If the piece is upbeat and happy, I'm supposed to want to get up and dance too. If you can't make me feel something with what you're doing, you basically fail.
I worked most of my life. In high school, there was Stewart's Cleaners. After school would go there, I would put the drape on the hanger, the sleeve on the hanger, and the janitor of all the cleaners. Clean everything up. I worked for $1.25 an hour. The only reason it was $1.25 an hour is because if Stewart had to pay that, it was required by law, or he'd be giving me 50 cents an hour. He was a very tightwad guy. So I come in one day after school, and he says to me to go to work, he says, "Johnny, come here, I want to talk to you." Yes, okay. Talk to Stewart. He says, "Johnny, I was upstairs yesterday and I napped after I finished working. I was tired and I dropped my watch on the floor. I put it on the table, went on the floor, and I went down, I picked it up, and I noticed under the cot I was laying on, there was no dust. I moved the cot. There was no dust. I looked behind the filing cabinets. There was no dust there whatsoever. Zero dust. You really are a great janitor. I said, it's my job to do what I do when I do it, not when someone else is looking. Tightest guy in the world gave me a 25-cent raise to $1.50. Where I went to high school, I was the highest paid kid and maybe adult in the neighborhood. We didn't have a lot of money in those days. What it was if humans can imagine doing what you have to do when nobody is watching you. You're doing as if someone is right there watching you. And in your free time, you're not trying to elongate something. You're doing what you should do without people watching you do it.
I grew up in Brooklyn, New York in public housing. The projects, as it was called back then. My parents were both high school dropouts, and they could barely afford $96 a month rent in our 2-bedroom apartment for my brother, my sister, and my parents. However, from my earliest of memories, my mother instilled in me her belief in the American dream and the promise of America. That a good education and hard work will open the doors to a better life. And that provides me with an important lesson to share with you all today. That your station in life does not define you and the promise of America that is for all of us.
I think that's one of the strongest things you can cultivate as an entrepreneur is to not rely on luck, but cultivating an ability to recognize fortunate situations when they're occurring. Odeo was a very fortunate situation. Could have taken that idea, not told it to Ev, not told it to Biz, not told it to Noah and all my other coworkers at Odeo, and tried to start my own company with that idea. But the fortunate situation was that I was working with some really amazing people, and we had a great team. So of course, it makes sense to start there. The fortunate situation for Square was that in 2008, the end of 2008, the entire market was crashing down. Like all of these abstractions we built upon abstraction upon abstraction upon abstraction in the financial world, which no single human understood, were now falling apart. And suddenly we were getting back to basics, back to fundamentals. Management teams were being asked to leave, banks were failing, people were clarifying around, like, we need to start getting innovative, we need to start treating our customers so poorly, we need to stop, encouraging bad behavior to reap fees. Like, we need to really turn this whole thing around. And anytime there's a recession or a depression, that's a great time to innovate, start a company, start a project, do anything. So, we recognize that time, and at the same time, my co-founder Jim, recontacted me. I've known him since I was 15 years old. He was my boss when I was 15 years old, and he's like, Jack, I want to talk to you. I want to build an electronic car company. I'm like, that's interesting. And he was thinking about it because the car industry was failing as well. And he was like, why don't we just give these car companies to well-seasoned entrepreneurs? Like, why don't we give Ford to Steve Jobs and
that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be amazing. And GM to Ellison or whatnot. He's like, and also I want to start an electronic car company. I'm like, that's ambitious. But in that moment, we decided not to start an electronic car company, but we wanted to do something together. And we kept having these weekly conversations about what that thing was. And I was researching a lot with finance and healthcare because I was looking at, doing something in those spaces. And Jim called me one day, and one of us scheduled meetings, and he said, I just lost a glass sale. He's an artist, he sells glass, and I lost a sale because I couldn't accept a credit card. And here he was talking on his iPhone, his general purpose computer, and I was talking on my iPhone, and we couldn't figure out.
A 1 gigahertz computer sitting in the palm of your hand, but no way to accept credit cards.
Yeah, he couldn't accept $2,000 from someone who wanted to pay him.
Right.
Why is that? So we decided that we wanted to answer that question, and we did a bunch of research, and I started writing some server code, and we hired a guy to write some iPhone code, and Jim built some hardware, and in a month we had a little, it was actually quite a big device that plugged into the audio jack of your iPhone and could swipe a card, take a payment, it would go through the merchant process and then generate a receipt with a map on it. And I went around, I showed it to a bunch of investors, and they were all amazed that it could even work. So we decided to really focus on it and make it a company. And it really just comes down to like recognizing that fortunate situation and recognizing the people around you that could help. And